In this video, we'll be revealing the one strategic move that wealthy American retirees consistently make once they cross the roughly $2.5 million threshold, and why this shift changes what we think everything about retirement planning. Now, through working with high net worth clients who reached this and other wealth levels, we discovered that their strategy tends to completely transform from growing wealth to controlling it through one specific tax planning move. You've probably heard of it, but let's talk about how it applies. Now, that's exactly why we're doing this video today, to show you the Roth conversion strategy that wealthy retirees use to protect their wealth from taxes and why this move becomes essential at $2.5 million. So let's get right into it. And before we dive in, look, this video is purely educational. It's not meant as advice or recommendation. Look, everyone's situation is different, and strategies that appear effective for one household may not be appropriate for another. But I want to explain to you how this works so you can begin to apply this in your own thinking. Look, one trend that consistently appears among households reaching approximately $2 to $2.5 million is a strategic shift in focus. At this level, many high net worth retirees begin thinking differently about risk, especially tax risk. And I think more Americans should. Rather than prioritizing growth at all costs, many begin prioritizing control. Control over when taxes are paid. Control over future required distributions. Control over retirement income more than just costs. At higher wealth levels, traditional tax-deferred accounts can eventually grow large enough to trigger meaningful tax consequences, especially later in retirement once distributions become mandatory. Large distributions may also affect Medicare premiums or increase the portion of Social Security subject to tax. Now, many of you know this, but this is one of the reasons many high net worth retirees start paying more attention to long-term tax exposure rather than just worrying about short-term market performance. Now, this is great. This strategy shifts, I think, really how what your priorities should be. And we're starting to see more and more retirees thinking about this much more strategically. So one pattern we've observed among many retirees, particularly those with significant assets in tax-deferred accounts, is the increased use of partial Roth conversions. Now, this does not mean it's right for everyone, simply that we see that it's a recurring trend that's coming more and more, becoming more and more common. As high net worth retirees choose to gradually move portions of their traditional IRA balances into Roth accounts during the years when their taxable income is naturally lower. This tends to occur in early retirement years before certain income sources begin, but can still be a good strategy if you're later on in retirement. These conversions are typically spread out because converting too much at once can increase taxable income, substantially in a single year in a way that really causes the problem we're trying to avoid. So this is just an observation. It's not a recommendation. But the thing is that Roth accounts by design, they don't have required minimum distributions. So because of that, retirees look at this as as really a tool for control, but also long-term tax diversification. So the concept is, do you want to be in control of when you pay the taxes that are due on those IRAs, or do you want the government to be in control? The rules tend to change, so we think that in many cases it makes sense to pay proactively on your terms so that there aren't surprises. But some retirees with larger retirement account balances begin to think about more and more how required minimum distributions might affect their taxes in the future, especially with tax rates really low right now. Look, larger traditional IRA balances can result in larger required distributions, which may elevate taxable income whether the money is actually needed or not. So this can create ripple effects across your retirement plan, especially if you're overweight in IRAs, right? So for retirees in this position, reducing the size of future RMDs through strategic planning, sometimes Roth conversions are an example, can be really appealing. Now, this is an observation of what we find our clients like to think about, not a recommendation, but this is important to begin to think about this. It's about what you keep after taxes, not about what you start with. So now that you understand why some retirees think about future tax exposure, if you'd like additional educational materials or some more information on this, fill out the link below on our website. Once you submit it, our team can share some resources and even potentially offer to chat with you so you can learn more about these concepts. Look, some high net worth retirees also take into account how future taxable income could influence other retirement costs. Under the current rules, higher income can absolutely increase your Medicare premiums, this is called IRMAA, or affect the taxation of Social Security benefits. But because Roth withdrawals do not count towards certain income calculations, some retirees view Roth accounts as a way to diversify the types of income they might draw from. This can provide a sense of flexibility in managing how future income interacts with various retirement programs. Again, simply a trend, not specific advice, but it's something to think about. Government benefits consideration, this really adds another layer to managing tax brackets. Timing these things is really important. So a lot of folks know that the way that our tax system works, we have marginal brackets. Not every dollar is taxed at the same rate. And so you want to think about this. Among retirees who use Roth conversions, another common trend is tax bucket management. So think about it. Many high net worth retirees, especially those that we work with, no longer earning employment income, observe that in their taxable income, tends to temporarily drop during their retirement years. Those lower income years can be a great opportunity to spread out some Roth conversions instead of doing it all at once. And obviously the motivation is to avoid, a large jump in taxable income and to smooth out not just your taxes in one year, but throughout your entire life. The pattern is simply, something that we think makes a ton of sense to consider. Convert in low years and take income from other accounts when you need it. So I want to share with you what we call the comprehensive wealth control framework that wealthy retirees implement. So for households with significant assets, particularly tax-deferred assets, tax control becomes a big part of the picture. Some retirees combine Roth conversions with other concepts like withdrawal sequencing, charitable planning, portfolio diversification, often estate tax considerations, sometimes alternatives. The goal is not necessarily to minimize returns. It's more to gain predictability and control of your investments. Integrated planning allows retirees, we think, to adapt these strategies over time as the tax laws change and their needs change. It's less about chasing returns, more about shaping the long-term structure of taxable and tax-free income. So understanding the broader framework leads naturally to how these decisions are often put into practice. So here's some ideas about the implementation strategy that we use that can help put our wealthiest retirees more in control, we believe. So when high net worth retirees move more in this direction, the process typically involves assessing their long-term tax exposure, analyzing projected distributions, identifying windows of lower taxable income, adjusting their plans, or even maybe rules or circumstances that guide these decisions. Again, these are just patterns. They're not exact suggestions, but here's how we work with their professional teams to support them. So we run multiple simulations, review the different tax scenarios, and model potential outcomes. The goal is simply to provide some structure around a framework of decisions to impact long-term tax planning. So look, now that you've seen the trend that many wealthy retirees follow when they reach $2.5 million, and sometimes a lot earlier, and how the focus often shifts from growth to long-term tax control, you have a clearer understanding of why Roth conversions appear so frequently in high net worth retirement planning discussions. And if you would like to figure out whether or not our team may be able to help you to evaluate these and other strategies, click the link below, fill out the form on the website. Once you submit it, our team will respond, let you know if we may be a fit, and schedule a quick, no cost, no obligation consultation to help figure out whether or not we'd be able to help you